and developing bitter compounds similar to what happens when you roast coffee. See how dark that is? Hey folks, you see this cup of coffee? There ain't a coffee bean in it. Hello, welcome to WayPoint Survival. Today, I'm going to show you how to make hobo coffee without any coffee beans. Stay tuned. So this method of making coffee without beans goes back to the Great Depression. It was very popular back then, as well as during previous time periods, during war, for instance, when it would be really hard to get a hold of coffee. It also plays on the fact that hobos often said that their best friend was the local baker when they were hungry, because as they made bread fresh every day, it would grow stale after 24 hours, and so you could get day-old bread or two-day-old bread either for free or next to nothing, which every hobo had a lot of. The first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need some sort of old stale bread, and hobos would carry this in paper sacks, be wrapped up in some wax paper, and do remember that wax paper, you wouldn't throw it away, you could reuse it to wrap other things in, perhaps a bit of cheese or a leftover sandwich. And it's also very flammable, and so this makes a really good, relatively waterproof fire starter. So just a little hint for you. But you want something like this. This is just a piece of bread. You could use brown bread, you could use anything that you want. I just happened to grab this because it was relatively inexpensive and it will do what we want. Now the next thing we need to do, this is super hard. You can hear how crunchy that is. And so what we're looking for is some of these bread pieces that we can just crumble up and get some pieces like that. We're going to need some sort of a pan or a pot. You're also going to want to get some sort of a frying pan, and you're going to need a lid. So you can see here what we've got. We've got our cowboy skillet. We've got an old lid. Cover it like that. This also serves as a plate. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take these crumbs and we're going to put these crumbs in here, and you want them to be not very big, so about bean sized if you want to think in those dimensions. And again, this was often called hard times coffee by different people, depending on who they were and where they lived. So the hobos knew about this, a lot of people did, and something that they would have used. All right, I'm going to go ahead and keep crumbling this up and breaking it into this pan, and then I'll get back with you here in just a minute when we get that ready. All right, so when you get a goodly portion of that put together, and for the size of this pan, I like to kind of keep it the bottom well covered. Now we want to cover this with our lid. I'm going to put it over top of the fire. And now I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Momentous. Momentous creatine chews are the first chewable creatine tablets that meet the elite level performance standards that health conscious people demand. First of all, each creatine chew is 1 gram of Creapure, which is the gold standard of creatine monohydrate. Unlike some others, Momentous creatine chews are third-party NSF certified for sport. Secondly, there are no fillers or artificial sweeteners, so you can take this every day to meet your overall fitness and health goals. Now, I've been working out for quite a few years, and I know that creatine can help boost strength and endurance as well as aid in recovery after a hard workout session. It can also help me to support focus and other healthy brain functions, as well as helping me to maintain muscle mass and performance as we age. These can be taken every day and at any time, and I really like the taste. I actually look forward to taking the 5 creatine chews, which is a full daily serving of 5 grams of creatine. No scoops or mixing, just great tasting creatine that's super easy to use. So whether I'm at home, driving in the car, or working out in the gym, Momentous creatine chews are always handy and available. While Momentous didn't invent creatine, they definitely perfected it. So if you're ready to try this game-changing way of getting your daily dose of creatine, make sure and check out what Momentous has to offer. Also, when you do order, you can get up to 35% off your first order by either using the link that's in the description box down below or scanning the QR code that's showing on your screen, and by using the code WayPoint at checkout. And once again, a big thank you to Momentous Creatine Chews for sponsoring this video. Okay, so we've got our fire going good here, and we're just going to put this over top, and we're going to let it sit there for just a little bit. And we do have to check this very frequently because we don't want to burn this. It's very important. So we're going to let this cook for a while. We'll stir it every now and then, and do keep the heat in. That's what this is for. And remember, there's no fluid in here, there's no moisture, it's just dry bread on a pan. So you're going to have to really watch this carefully while this is cooking. Now you're going to reach a stage where they're going to want to burn, so you got to be really careful about this. And you want to try to brown it without burning it. And so this takes a little bit of work and a little bit of practice, and you just have to keep messing with it and stirring it and keeping it off the bottom. You may get a little bit of brown on here, black rather instead of brown, but that's okay. We're just going to try to be careful and keep working this. A lot of this has to do with how hot your fire is, and so you're going to have to kind of manage the heat. I'm picking it up off the flames, as you can see, and but we want this to be as thoroughly browned as possible. And what we're doing, it works because we are actually caramelizing sugars and developing bitter compounds similar to what happens when you roast coffee. So that's how this trick works. And but again, we want to be careful to keep it moving so that we don't end up with just a nasty mess on the bottom of the pan. And this is definitely more challenging to do over a campfire than it is in your kitchen, for instance. But I'm going to do this and make this work anyway. It's looking pretty good. Got a little bit of burnt crumbs on the bottom, but generally speaking, that looks pretty good. Now we need some hot water. So we're going to just use our pot here, and we're just going to place it over the fire and let that heat up a little bit. So we have some boiling water. That's very critical. You have to have boiling water. Okay, so while we've got the water on to boil, we're going to go ahead and take this, and this is cooled down nicely, and we're going to put it into our coffee pot. Now while you're doing this, you can filter out any really badly burnt pieces. Again, we want them dark brown and caramelized. What we don't want is something that looks like that. So that's just completely blackened. It was really thin. We're looking for these better pieces here, and as long as it's a nice dark brown like that, that's acceptable. So that's what we're going for, and we're just going to sort through this very carefully and get most of this good stuff out of here, because that's what we want. All right, so this is what we have left. A bunch of real small fine stuff that went ahead and burnt. We've picked most of the good caramelized pieces out, and you can see here we've got quite a bit, enough to cover the bottom of our little coffee pot here. And the rest of this we can just toss out for the animals, and we'll clean this up a little bit later. But yeah, it did pretty well. All right, you can see we've got a good rolling boil. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to pull this off the fire, and then we're going to dump the boiling water right into the pot. Top of that, cover it with the lid. Now the important thing is you want to let this steep until it cools down. Okay, so when you get this where you feel like it's cooled down enough, there's a couple of ways you can do this. First of all, you could use a little metal strainer like this, but if you want to do it real hobo style, we use a handkerchief. And you just want one layer. Of course, you want to use a clean hanky for this. Kind of stretch it out over the top, set it on it so it can't easily come loose. Put a divot there in the bottom, and then we pour this out. And what we're doing is we're straining any solids. See how dark that is? All right, so we got down in there some of the bread pieces. Of course, if you're really hungry, you might keep this and eat this later. All right, so we're going to go ahead and lift this up, making sure we don't get any of the bread crumbs into there. It's a little bit challenging when you got the pot sitting on there, but that's all right. There we go. Should get all that out. Look at that. That looks like coffee. Now that we've got that strained, we're going to go ahead and pour it back in the coffee pot. Or you could use a tin can if you didn't have a pan. Anything would be fine. Put the lid on it, back over the fire. All right, put it back over the fire. Let it warm back up a little bit. All right, I think that's warmed up enough. Go ahead and take it off the fire here. All right, so here we go. A little bit in here. See how dark that is? That looks pretty good. It's steaming. All right. Now, to make it taste better, put a little bit of sugar in it. Again, not too much. Stir that around. And then we're going to put in some sweetened condensed milk. And this would be something that the hobos would have access to. Use our church key here. And we're not going to put a huge amount in here, just a little bit. It's kind of cold, so it's pretty thick. All right. Doesn't want to come out very good. That's all right, we'll do with what we got. And we'll stir that in together. All right, and now for the ultimate test. What does it taste like? Well, we're going to be thankful even for our coffee. Give it a final stir. That's actually really pleasant. I mean, of course, it doesn't have exactly the coffee flavor, but yeah, that's pretty good. That's definitely worth doing. If you want to have a good time out with your friends the next time you're in the backcountry, have them try some of this Hobo Hard Times coffee. And that's all she wrote. This is James Bender for WayPoint Survival. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure and check out the links in the description box below, just under the More button. While you're down there, you'll find the link for our WayPoint Survival digital class. This is where you can train in the comfort and convenience of your own backyard the top 20 skills that we consider to be the most important from our Phase 1 Survival and Bushcraft class. You'll also find where you can sign up for the WayPoint Survival and Prepping 101 newsletter. Absolutely chock full of great ideas and articles that you're going to want to print out and keep for your own preparedness journey as well as your survival practice. And Bob and I are glad to bring you that at least once a week, as I said, if not sooner. And you'll also find our waypointsurvival.com link. This is where you can sign up for in-person classes at our beautiful training facility here in Southern Ohio, and we'd love to have you in a class. Those classes start in April, as they do every year, so make sure and check out those dates and look up the required gear list. That's very important. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. We'd really appreciate it. And when you do subscribe to the channel, make sure and press that bell button so that you can stay notified of all of our upcoming videos, and we'll talk to you next time.